In this video, I'll show you how to perform the most flamboyant transformation methods in the world of Warcraft, unleashing fantastic visual effects, transforming into the most powerful lore characters, how to make your character the tiniest possible in-game, and also the most truly gargantuan, and morph into almost any model on Azeroth. This is the definitive guide to disguise and visual effect exploitation in WoW. Hello, and welcome to Archvelder's Hacks with Archvelder and his amazing hacks. If you plan on trying any of the techniques in this video, it's a good idea to first buy up some reflecting prisms from the auction house for around 120 gold each, or you can make them if you have 650 dual crafting. Each prism has 50 charges, which should last a fair while. Secondly, I'd strongly recommend you get the Sky Mirror toy item from Ali here, a rare spawn in the Dread Wastes of Pandaria. This is hands down the most useful single item I've discovered in-game. The Sky Mirror forms the basis of all disguises in-game, as it allows you to copy other player disguises for 10 minutes, and also when used on yourself, extends the duration of any disguise you may be wearing. We're going to start with a really interesting secret debuff located in a legacy dungeon that few new players will even know the existence of. Enter Ancarnet, the Old Kingdom, the entrance to which is in Dragonblight, Northrend, and make sure your dungeon settings are set to Heroic before you enter. Work your way through the dungeon until you come to the narrow tunnel filled with cobwebs immediately after you kill Prince Taldram. As you exit the tunnel, head left down the slope into the fungi area, and there you'll find the mob Amanitar. Now wait till Amanitar casts the shrink debuff on you, and then use your Hearthstone to leave the dungeon. Now the shrink debuff stays on your character until death, and will persist through the teleport. The debuff makes your character significantly smaller, as you can tell here. Now, this has a serious cost for DPS classes, in that it reduces your DPS by 75%. So, if you're going to use it as DPS, make sure it's just for cosmetic purposes. But for healers, at least in PvP, this is less of an issue, and it makes you a much smaller target. Also, this transformation will work on hunter pets, or warlock minions, so you can have a pint-sized Haiti or Felguard or whatever. For some reason, the debuff doesn't seem to affect the damage these pets do. Also, this is unique in that because this transformation occurs because of a debuff, it can be taken into Arena, and it's really difficult, for example, to hit a gnome monk in Arena with this debuff. Now we're going to go to the opposite end of the scale and create the largest mounted mob size that we can in-game. This method was shown to me by a mysterious individual known as One Weird Guy, who kindly shared this tip. He recommended going to the Eye of Ashara and pickpocketing the protectors around the final boss. And while that method works, I found it a bit too time consuming, as you have to clear the instance to access those protectors without being electrocuted. Happily, there's a mob which is almost as large, much nearer the entrance, known as the Hate Coil Arcanist. In addition to the rogue, you'll need a glyph of disguise from the auction house if you don't have one already, as that copies the appearance of any mob you pickpocket that's humanoid. You can create a class trial rogue if you don't have one. Rogue disguises break on combat and only last 5 minutes, so you will need a method to extend the disguise and also use it in combat, and that's where you use a Sky Mirror or a Prism of Reflection. You can see this mob is very large, but crucially, when you mount, the disguise persists, making you the same size as a medium-sized building. It is enormous fun to peacock with. Larger disguises like this have a very interesting interaction when you enter buildings which can't contain the size of the character model. It's actually possible to walk over small buildings that you wouldn't be able to normally. Although this disguise doesn't work in high-end PvP, it works in random battlegrounds and can also be taken into most forms of PvE. and you can have a lot of fun at showing the disguise around with a prism of reflection. One of my most popular ever videos also used the Rogue's Glyph of Disguise, and that was a video about a method where you copy Sylvanas Windrunner's appearance. To this day that video still gets significant traffic, such is the popularity of the Dark Lady, and the method still works today. In fact, it is much easier to pickpocket Sylvanas because the bat with true sight that used to circle her chamber seems to have been removed. Simply use pickpocket at a safe distance from Sylvanas and exit the chamber in stealth. Then exit the royal chamber, again watching for mobs with a blue dot indicating true sight above their head, and find a safe place to port out. One important change to the method I showed in the original video: you can no longer store Sylvanas' image offline with the Sky Mirror. Sky Mirror disguises copied from another player now run down in real time when offline. The pickpocket disguise itself though still does not run down when offline, so you can still store the disguise if you have a rogue alt you don't play much. Many other faction leaders and major NPCs in-game can similarly be copied with Glyph of Disguise. There are many other tricks you can use with Glyph of Disguise, which I covered in my Rogue Guide that I'll link to below in the description, almost all of which still work. Now, to copy non-humanoid mobs, you'll want an item known as the Magic Mirror, which you can purchase from the pet shop in Dalaran. Now, unlike most of the other transformation items in-game, the Magic Mirror is not trivial to acquire. It requires 500 pet charms to purchase. Now, pet charms can be acquired by doing pet battles. How difficult this is for you depends on how many alts you have. Pet charms are attained from world quests, and to get 500 of them you'll need to do every single pet battle world quest every day. Now, alts are really important because you can send pet charms to other accounts, even cross-faction. You'll need a reasonable amount of gold to purchase a decent amount of pets. For pet battle strategy, I'd recommend Zufu's Pet Battle Guides, which I'll link to below. Also, if you want to avoid pet battles altogether, you can get Boon of the Zookeeper from the pet shop in Dalaran and just pick up pet charms while farming. It will take a lot longer doing it that way though. All of this is really worth it, however, because at the end of it you get an amazing item which will transform you for 10 minutes into well over half of all the NPCs in WoW. Combined with the Rogue Pickpocket Glyph, you can transform into well over 90% of all of the models in Azeroth. Now, what the Magic Mirror actually does is transform you into any battle pet. Now, Blizzard tend to reuse models frequently, and most of the battle pet models are pint-sized versions of larger models in the world, even raid bosses. Meaning that whatever NPC whose disguise you want to copy, it's really just a question of finding the equivalent battle pet. As with most disguises, the Magic Mirror appearance breaks very easily, but when extended with Ali's Sky Mirror, or the Reflecting Prism, is much more robust. As you can see here, this tiny Flamefire appearance normally breaks on combat when using the Magic Mirror, but I can extend it into combat for 10 minutes using the Sky Mirror. One of my favourite visual exploits comes from the Disciplined Priest and Arcane Mage artifact questlines. These exploits were first discovered by Dewtech and Danwins at Encore. Both Arcane Mage and Disciplined Priest artifact questlines require you to complete a number of initial quests until you are sent to the Nexus in Coldara, Northrend. There you'll receive the quest Harnessing the Arcane for Mage and Unleashing Judgment for Priests. They are both essentially the same quest, requiring you to kill mobs, and when you do so your character will become very shiny and you'll acquire this amazing ethereal form. All you have to do then to keep the form is just hearth or teleport out of the area, and the effect will persist indefinitely and will even persist through death. And since it's an effect rather than a disguise, it will work just as well when you use it with other transformations, as I'll demonstrate.
You there! Check out that noise!
The following fantastic visual exploit was first published by Array Explorer at Encore, and he has his own channel which I'll link to in the description below. Now, this affects Fire Mages, Unholy Death Knights and Demonology Warlocks. You'll need the item Rukmar's Sacred Memory from Stormshield in Draenor. Now, this item requires 50,000 Apexis Crystals. Apexis Crystals can be acquired by doing Garrison and Tanarn Jungle dailies. It's quicker than you might think. To get the enhanced size effect with the Flame Orms of Fellow Malorn as Fire Mage, as you've just seen, just activate the disguise. For Demonology Warlocks, you'll find it's the skull of the Manari that's affected, making it very large. You'll have to look up to see it. For Frost Death Knights, it's their artifact, the Blades of the Fallen Prince, which is affected, specifically the Crystalline Swords ability. As you can see here, the swords scale to titanic size. Finally, we'll cover the Mage Spell Illusion. This can be obtained by buying a specific tome sold by Endora Moorhead in the shop Sisters Sorceress in Northrend Dalaran. Illusion either copies a targeted player for 2 minutes or simply gives you a random player appearance if no player is targeted. What's especially interesting about Illusion is that when restrictions are applied to other disguise copying methods, Blizzard often forget about the existence of Illusion, which seems to have been coded differently, and for this reason you can copy disguises which it isn't possible to copy in other circumstances. For example, if you go to Shadowmoon Valley in Outlands to this Legion communication device and wait around for a few minutes, someone will come along and turn into a box. It's part of a quest. If you've actually done this quest, you'll know you can't move while you're in box form, which means you also can't copy your appearance. However, if you stand near someone turned into a box on your mage and use the illusion spell, you can acquire the disguise and move around with total freedom. As before, extending the disguise duration using a sky mirror or reflecting prism. This also allows you to take all kinds of weird disguises into battlegrounds. And one of the most effective disguises you can acquire in a battleground was first discovered by a guy called Oh Yes I Can over at Encore back in 2016 in the Stars of Legion. And it's simply to capture a priest's spirit form whilst in Spirit of Redemption, which is highly confusing in a combat situation. This method also works with the Valkyrie form of Spirit of Redemption. Before I finish up here, I'd like to thank Prismal Design for contributing the new trailer to this channel. And if you find that as impressive as I did, you may wish to check out Prismal's own website at the address which I'll link to in the description below. So there's the guide. If you liked it, why not subscribe? And if you really liked it, why not consider joining my super secret Patreon feed to get hacks like the one in this video, days, weeks or even months before they're published on YouTube. Also get access to a treasure trove of material that couldn't be made public as it would get instantly hotfixed. That said, if you can't afford it, then I'm committed to providing the best possible content on this channel for free for the foreseeable future. Thanks for watching. This has been Archfather. This did not go well.